What's up, my precious little pack, and welcome back to Maelstrom. I'm going to play games on the side from now on, so make sure content comes out, and I have a few ideas on how to make it entertaining, and those are through scenarios. The scenario I have set up for today is going to take place in a city map, as you can see, and the objective will be old military tech, so essentially the very first variation of Abrams and things like that. Old artillery, paladins, things like this, Valkyries, which are essentially helicopters that, well, once you see them, I shouldn't have to name what they are because everybody will know. ATVs, post-apocalyptic as usual. Now, I will modify the sound after the game starts, so it's not going to be as loud. But the objective is to beat the Ascension, and their goal for the AI is to beat me, and I've enabled all the winning conditions, so it's going to be very, very important for me to protect my commanders, which are your hero units, which you spawn with. If I lose every single building, I lose. If they capture all the water stations, I lose. Alternatively, it's the same way. If I can kill all their leaders, I can win. If I can destroy their entire base, I can win. If I can capture all the water stations, I can win. This way, I have to think of each way that we can win and lose, but also how many ways I can capture everything. It's also going to be very, very important to defend my base, because if I lose the base, I lose. If they find my commanders and kill all of them, of which you can have 3 because they're your heroes, you lose. If they capture all the water pumps, you lose. But what I want to do is do old school tech against futuristic tech, so machines, well, heavily armored machine vehicles that can change into advanced robots with different traits, such as changing from a primary cannon, which is essentially an energy cannon, to an electrical lance, which fires lightning at targets, similar to the heavier air mech that they have as the Ascension. But I'm going to be playing as the good old Remnants. I'm going to be orange, and, well, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, here we are.
Ready for duty. No problem, we'll have this haven up in no time. Buchanan, moving out.
My objective will be straightforward. I'm going to quickly lay down and establish a base in my corner of the map. The AI spawned at the opposite corner, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to align mine. I prefer to have the north-south facing for a camera, so it's always going to be scrolling up. It's going to be scrolling up on the main map, scrolling down. It's going to be scrolling down.
We'll keep you safe. I'll be there.
And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and play with the audio settings real quick, and I'm going to adjust it so it's a little bit quieter, because even I found that extremely loud. But I'll bring you all back in just a second. Alright, that should be better.
Got any scrap for me, boss?
Oh, much better. Alright. I want to quickly get out of group to grab this, and this water pump.
Sir, yes, sir. Trooper training is underway, sir. It's kind of like a sunflower garden. Kinda. We'll mount a sun farm right here.
And it's going to get very dark in the game, because that's just how it goes.
Sir, Remnants rule. Oh yeah. Double time it. Hoo-ha. Double time it. Hoo-ha.
And I'm going to save up a little bit, because I want to take care of advanced research. Snipers are always going to be useful against infantry, but against heavy vehicles, they're going to fall short, so it's going to get a little awkward at certain parts during the fight. I also need to make sure I build sheltered sanctuaries in favor of having an additional base of units to rely on. This is one advantage the Ascension has over the Remnants, and that is that you can have more units for being old school. Oh. Completely forgot you're all defended. And what about you?
Sir, yes, sir.
Alright, you got that dealt with. Capture that. So the primary goal that I'm going to try and achieve is capturing all the water pumps, because he who controls the flow of water controls the fate of the world. I'm also going to keep my hero back here. I'm not going to summon the others.
Ready for duty.
Are you even building that? No, you're not. Why are you just standing there? Come on, buddy.
Safe haven here.
Okay, I'm going to get a second one out. Let's see.
Water pump is up and running.
The additional water pumps will also allow me to have an additional layout of
Upgrading the
resources.
water station now.
The more water or hydrogen resource you control, the faster you can do research. Well, the more you can research, and in turn advance,
You got a room with a view? Safe
and in
haven.
turn advance your
I'll
own
be there.
technological level. My goal for this will be simply to achieve tanks and things like
We'll
that,
mount
so we can have
sun farm
a
right here.
extremely entertaining fight between old technology and new
We'll mount a
technology.
sun farm right here. Got any scrap for me, boss?
Okay,
Safe
that
haven
one.
here.
Okay, all that's set up. What do I need for that? Just 300 of the hydrogen. That should be no problem.
Location secure, sir. Moving out, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm going to have
Sir. Yes,
all
sir.
the units
Moving
rally
out,
up
sir.
on each other,
Moving out, sir.
because
Power
I
from the
want
sun.
them to group
Cheap
up.
and free.
Okay. I'm going to go silent for a few minutes while I set everything else up, and
Scavenger.
well, I want to play more of the older games that I have, just because I find them more entertaining than some of the newer games that I have access to, just because these are games that I played when I was younger. They're always going to
Got any
be,
scrap for me, boss?
they're always going to mean something to me.
We'll have that watchtower up real soon. Power from the sun. Cheap and free. Sir. Yes, sir.
You guys control that yet? And I should most definitely try and capture the center of the map more than anything else,
Water pump
just
is
because the
up and
amount
running.
of resources I can get from that would be
We read
incredible.
you, sir. We're upgrading the water station now. Hoo-ha! Double down it!
Let's send them to that first one. Let's send this group to this one.
Double down it! Tower responding. Let's get this watchtower
Go some
upgraded.
simple
I'll be there.
MG
Eyes open and
towers.
ears on. Scanning all approaches.
They're always gonna
Let's
be
get
the
this
anti-infantry.
watchtower upgraded. Head not, boss. We'll have that watchtower up real soon. Head not, boss. We'll have that watchtower up
And
real
yes, you
soon.
can only build
Watchtower
within a
upgrade
limit
is
around
complete.
your base, because the Remnant faction relies on survivor compounds, which is what you saw me build on in the first place, and I will explain it more in depth as I play through it, but each scenario will be more or less focused on
Scavenger. Ready for
who
duty.
can do what.
Hoo-ha! Come on, you ants! Sir! Yes, sir! Hit him!
Capture it. Alright. I should have started and I should pay a little more attention to my resources, because I can get very, very far ahead if I actually do.
Scavenger. Ready for duty. Head not, boss. Eyes open and ears on. Tower responding.
Let's get another 2 MG towers up.
That's it. The haven has been upgraded. Scavenger.
Alright.
Ready for duty.
Now, I'm running out of room for my base over here, so I'm going to have to
Watchtower
capture
upgrade
one
is
of the
complete.
survivor compounds out over here. That shouldn't be much of a problem.
Hoo-ha!
Come on,
Double
dude,
tap
capture it.
Hit him! Sir! Yes, sir!
Alright, that one's mine.
Location secure, sir. Moving out, sir!
Okay, you guys just not going to do what I
Moving
need you
out,
to.
sir. Hit him!
Okay,
Scavenger. Ready for duty. Safe haven here.
that's fully upgraded. Medical skill for standard troopers allows them to heal each other. And Firebug, which is essentially an infantry equipped with a flamethrower. Need Scrap Shack for that. That'll be
Scavenger.
easy.
Ready for duty.
That'll be very easy. I just need
Solar generator is
solar
online.
power.
Starting work on upgrades.
So start getting upgrades
This
during
is
the
the
night.
sun farm.
And yes, the time of the day is actually
She's all
displayed
matched up.
up here. And depending on what time it is, as well as the level of certain buildings,
It's kinda like
you
a
rely on
sunflower
sun
garden.
power or
Kinda.
solar energy as both the primary human factions, which are the Ascension and the Remnants. The Remnants are the ones I'm playing as.
Solar generator is online.
And the higher it gets towards noontime, the more energy you'll get to a maximum set per structure.
We read you, sir.
Okay,
We're
finally
upgrading the water station now.
Let's go ahead and let's
Scavenger. Ready for duty.
lay down a new
No problem. We'll have
Shelter
this
Sanctuary.
haven up
And
in no time.
that's one of the other things that I love about this game. You don't have to go out there
Yes,
with
sir. Double down it.
to construct a new sheltered sanctuary on a certain area. You just have to capture and hold it. So I never have to send a worker, in this case one of the scavengers, out in favor of producing anything out here. I just have to have them selected to start it. And that'll allow me to, one, produce more units in the area and establish a base. I don't want to walk a scavenger out here, so I'm going to start a new one.
We read you, sir. We're upgrading the water station now.
The goal of me starting a new one is simply to have one out here so I don't have to build another one at the other base. It also means that now that I've established the base, I can effectively destroy this unit because I don't need it.
Got any scrap for me, boss?
There was a way to kill them if I'm not mistaken.
Got any scrap for me, boss? Got any scrap for me, boss?
I guess you can stick around. Alright, what do we got?
Location secure, sir. Hoorah! Hit him! Double time it!
And yes, your units can move and shoot, so if you're smart, you're going to be walking at the same time you're fighting. Now that all of this is laid out, I can get Scrap Shack, and Scrap Shack is your primary way to produce ground units, or in this case, vehicles. Vehicles include ATVs, anti-air equipped Humvees, well, not quite Humvees, they're missile launcher based, the Ironside tank, which looks like an early version of the Abrams, and the Paladin, and then you have your helicopter, which is the Valkyrie. And this is them down here. Oh, you also have your APC, which is just a Bradley.
Got any scrap for me, boss? Solar generator is online. Starting work on upgrades.
Actually, no, it wasn't a Bradley. It was one of the other variations. I'd have to wait for it to be constructed and find out.
This is the Haven. This is the Sun Farm.
But I'm sitting on a very large resource pool right now.
Kinda. Got any scrap for me, boss?
However, I need more solar energy, so let's just go ahead and establish a little bit out here.
We'll mount a Sun Farm right here. Scanning all approaches. Scavenger, ready for duty.
Okay, I need to stay focused on the primary objective, capturing all the water pumps.
Safe haven here.
Nighttime approaches again.
You drive it, we got it.
I need an advanced haven for that. I can start that right now.
We're working on upgrading this.
My goal is I'm going to take some Ironsides in.
Got any scrap for me, boss?
And I actually do have room at the main base for stockpile. Stockpile is where you primarily research upgrades for your base, units, and other things as the Remnant faction.
Cheap and free.
So let's go ahead and let's get this laid out. And all of them have stuff like this. Armor affects every unit, including vehicles from infantry to air units. Anything that can melee. So if you can run units over, that counts as a melee and gets upgraded via this. And you have your basic upgrade to ranged attacks. Now you can also upgrade your hero's abilities and other abilities you have.
Power from the sun, cheap and free.
Okay, that should be both of them.
Solar generator is online. Starting work on upgrades. I'll be there.
I already know why the AI is taking so long, and I'm not going to actually complain that it's not attacking for a change.
We read you, sir. We're upgrading the water station now. It's kind of like a sunflower garden. Kinda. We got H2O, boss.
And yes, upgrading these, the water pumps, to the maximum level gives them self-defense. They gain a weapon. As the human factions. For the alien faction, not so much. I'll explain theirs later on.
Eyes open and ears on. We finished the upgrade. This is the
Okay.
wrecking yard. You drive it, we got it.
Now,
We finished the upgrade.
first let's get Valkyrie out. Okay, here's what it was. ATVs. The Rocket Storm, which looks like a mix between a Jeep, not a Humvee, pardon, along with a heavy anti-air missile system based to destroy any air target that enters a certain location.
We'll have that watchtower up real soon.
You have the hammer, the jackhammer, which is an artillery cannon mounted in the back of effectively a Jeep. So it's basically a technical. Just very, very upgraded and very, very dangerous.
Got some stormy weather coming.
Then you have the Ironside. The Ironside is the primary heavy vehicle of the Remnant faction. And as I said before, it looks like an Abrams. Now everybody should be able to tell exactly what that is without me having to say what it is. But let's go ahead and let's go say hi to the enemy and see just where they're at technologically.
Rendezvous at your location. Eyes open and ears on. This is the wrecking yard.
Something else I should probably do: upgrade armor and weapons. Now, armor and weapons don't actually give them armor values that reduce damage. What it does is it actually increases their armor. So as you can see, this unit has 75 armor and 300 hit points. It increases the amount of the armor value. When you upgrade the ranged weapons, and this one has 2, it has rocket pods and a machine gun.
Location locked. We're moving to intercept.
And when you upgrade the ranged attack, it'll increase both of those, and they do the same amount of damage versus armor. Some units do more damage versus armor than health, and some units that use melee can actually ignore armor and destroy health. Certain alien units can actually convert your units by attacking them. And this is, I'm referring to the Siren of the Hog NT. And if I can kill every single one of them with just them, that'll be interesting. Alright. Say hello to the Abrams. Well, what could be. And this is the tank we're going to fight with. Looks like the gun's glitching a bit there. But these, again, they move and they shoot. And it has 2 ranged weapons. Primary weapon is a machine gun on the roof. Secondary weapon is its main cannon. Well, according to what it shows. Oh yes, and something else I forgot. When a Valkyrie shot down, standard infantry, which is the basic troopers, which I have up over here, are deployed from the crash location in a set of 5. So when one gets shot down, 5 soldiers will deploy at its location. And there you can see it doesn't even turn the main gun to shoot them, it just starts killing them with the anti-infantry weapon, which is the machine gun. And they can use the main gun, as you are going to see. And let's get a few paladins. And paladins are your basic long-range artillery, your remnant faction. And every single unit, well, the paladin and a few other units, they have the ability to terraform the area around them. So as you're driving, if you want to actually flatten an area, so if you want to go through a mountain that's in your way that your infantry or something can't traverse, you can drive a vehicle up to it. And the same thing is with the Remnant, is with the Ascension's vanguards. You can essentially drive up to a mountain and flatten the entire thing just to get by. So, in this case, infantry and stuff where you see it can't traverse right up this, I could drive a tank right up by it, park it in a close spot where it says it can't move, and I can essentially start flattening it and make a path here. It will make it so it's intraversable up here, and there's no way to produce bridges in the game due to the date of the game being produced. However, I never complain about it because, I mean, for its time it was a good game. Still a good game, and there are scenarios that can be played out that can be entertaining.
I'm awaiting your orders, sir. This is the wrecking yard.
Alright.
You drive it, we got it. ETA is imminent.
Now, these aren't a never-ending long-range supply unit.
ETA is imminent. Tank squad.
I mean, a long-range assault unit. You have to be within a certain distance for them to be able to fire their weapon at the target. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Paladin at roughly this location to shell this area. I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to research the cluster shell for the Paladin.
Scavenger, ready for duty.
And I'm going to continue upgrading all the units.
Ironside, reporting for duty.
And as you can see, the upgrade did affect. And I was wrong, it actually affects both their health and their armor value. The weapon value increases, if I'm not mistaken, it increases it by 20% per upgrade, so you can get a massive boost of damage. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to sit up and start laying down some siege fire. At the same time, send the tank in to pick them off. And again, this would be more entertaining with another player because they would have already advanced at the same rate I would have, if not faster, to essentially their equivalent technology, which would be the Crusader tank, which can turn into the Lancer assault bot, the Viper, which can turn into a Viper assault turret, and a few others.
On our way, sir. Tank squad, ready to engage.
Now, the tanks aren't indestructible. And as you can see, this one's about to go down.
We don't need any roads. Can't take too much of this punishment. Ironside, reporting
And there's
for
the
duty.
artillery.
We're rolling hot. New upgrades are available.
And if they lose all their heroes, they're gonna lose.
This is Paladin. We're dug in. Over.
Oh, just because the top's the
Taking
tank.
hits all over, sir.
Large pool of health, large pool of
We got
armor.
what you need.
And let's give it a little more.
This is the wrecking yard. You drive it, we got it.
I need to construct more sheltered sanctuaries. That's easy.
They've got our range. Let's get a sanctuary set up here. Let's get a sanctuary set up here. Scrap Shack responding.
How close are you to killing them off?
This is Paladin. We're dug in. Over. They've
Not
got our
close
range.
you are, you're gonna get picked off.
Stockpile's
Alright.
open for business.
Health spin upgrade should have
Paladin
over
is hull
700.
down. Repeat,
Yep.
Paladin is hull down. Scrap Shack
I have
responding.
so much in
Bus
resources,
plus
and this would be an
Cable
amazing fight
TV.
if it was against
We
another
lost the
player.
Paladin howitzer. Got any scrap for me, boss? Scrap Shack responding. Heavy iron is ready to go, sir.
And yes, you can literally just spam tanks. If you have all the resources like what I've got sitting around, you can do whatever you want with it.
This is the Haven. We're working on upgrading this place. We're rolling hot. You got a room with a view?
So in this case, I'm going to produce a battalion of tanks and attack with them.
This is the wrecking yard. You drive
And
it, we got it.
for the Remnants faction, that's about as far as you go technological wise. You don't get super weapons or anything like that as them. As the Ascension and the Alien, you both get a super unit. As the Ascension, you have a unit called the Titan. It is the biggest, most expensive unit that they can produce, and it is a juggernaut, and it is huge. It's armed with missile systems, it can grab units, it's equipped with heavy laser weaponry, and then you have the Titan of the Alien faction. No, the Ascensions is the Colossus, the Titan is the Alien. And the Aliens it lives up to its name, it's a giant weapon of massive destruction.
Reporting for duty. We don't need any roads.
I really should just focus on explaining the Remnants faction, shouldn't I?
We're rolling
And worry about the others later. But now we have a small
We're rolling hot.
convoy of tanks. What goal are we going to achieve with them? We're going to go finish off the enemy heroes, and we're going to achieve the victory not through capturing all the water pumps.
Location secure, sir.
That or I could just cheat and do this and start spreading the units out to every single water pump
Moving out, sir.
in favor of capturing them.
Tank squad, ready to engage.
Okay, real life, that guy would have died because he just walked under a tank.
We don't need any roads.
And yes, as your units fire their guns, if they have high explosive guns or anything like that, they can damage the ground, they can depress the ground, so that it can be forced down, so you can actually have a little rut that you can step into.
We don't need any roads.
And in some cases, you can actually hide vehicles so only the turret is exposed, and because the AI's targeting system for the game is all it is, they'll aim for the primary center of mass as a target, and they may shoot every single shot due to their weapon's location being attached to their hip. Well, to their hand where the weapon actually is. They may shoot the ground every time, whereas a tank, it may have the turret just over the ridge of whatever you built, so it can shoot at them and they can't hit it, though. Air units are different because they always attack from above and fire directly down, so a pit like this would be a death trap against air units because they would be trapped.
And get set for enemy contact. Tank squad, ready to engage.
And as we can see, they're already gone.
We're rolling hot.
Never mind, there they are.
Can't take too much of this punishment.
Oh yes you can.
We don't need any roads.
So, I may achieve the victory of killing them all off instead of actually capturing all of the water pumps.
We read you, sir.
Okay, you did capture that one. Go to that one then.
Moving out, sir.
And
Sir, yes, sir. Come on, you ants. Moving out, sir. tank squad. Ready to engage.
Oh, and the main gun only fires at units that aren't infantry. Secondary weapons reserved just for them, or structures.
Button up and get set for enemy contact.
And just like that, scenario's over. Their base was destroyed. They only had one structure. So these are the maps. You have 2-person maps, 3-person maps, 4-person, 5-person, 6-person. So yeah, it does go up to 6-person in one map, and then the other one's 5. So you only have 3 factions. You can go up to 6 on one map, which is the largest map. Let me know what all of you want to see. Do you want to see Remnants, which is essentially old technology against new? You have the Alien faction, which is an all bioorganic race, and Ascension, which is hyper advanced technology. They focus solely on the advancement of technology in favor of advanced weaponry. Laser weaponry is what their infantry are equipped with. They have cryo units, they have orbital weapon platforms, and things like that. But the scenario can take place on any of the maps. So Oasis of Death is a desert. Warflower is a mostly flooded map. Desert of No Escape, again, it's a desert map, except for it's surrounded by mountains, and you're on small plateaus. Stone Trap is the map I just played on. Sleeping Volcano is a volcano in the center of the map, which is inactive, so your players, infantry units, everything like that can walk through it. Air units can go over it without any hindrance. The water pumps and where the players spawn, they spawn in small alcoves that are safe from direct attack right away, so it favors a slow start. Islands of Despair is exactly as it looked. It's small isles in the middle of a large, vast waterway, and each isle actually has access to a water pump. So in total there is 9 water pumps that you have to take, and along with the primary base is bringing the total to 12. The top of the hill is actually a water map that is elevated, and you're essentially on a high-standing hill out of the water with cliff sides on every single angle, with the exception of the small path over here going down to a small water pump location. Horse Canyon is essentially the same thing, with the exception you're in a lower valley with no water around, but it's all desert, but you're in a lower valley, so the alien here would have an advantage, because when an alien captures water pump, when they upgrade it, instead of actually producing additional hydrogen and stuff like that, like the other AIs do, or like the other players, the other races do, they can actually flood the map, and they can achieve victory because units that are underwater that can't swim take damage and die. Every one of theirs can swim. You can research hover technology to counter this as the Ascension, or on your vehicles as the Remnants, you can produce and research flotation devices, so everything can float, provided it has a flotation equivalent. And again, air units are unaffected by that change. Crossroads. It is a smaller city map, essentially like the larger one that I played on Stone Trap, except for it favors a smaller crossroad, and it is exact that as a crossroad because there's a road that runs each way. You each spawn in part of the city, and there is immediately access to 2 water pumps to each player, with an additional 3 around the map in different locations. Through the Cleft is, again, a desert map with a low area in the middle, favoring units sitting on the ridges to shoot down and kill anyone that actually goes down into the pit, or artillery units along with heavy entrenchment and map modifications, so the players alter the map so that they don't have to worry about anything destroying them. So they could sit back through the Remnants, you could sit behind a wall of stone, dirt, and stuff like that your enemy has to go through. All the while you could be firing artillery at them while they have to go through, so they're losing units while you're just sitting back. Affair of Honor is the map that I've actually shown on the channel twice, because its small nature. It is 2 high-rises on the top and bottom of the map, both in favor of the players sitting back and producing a base, with mostly a ridgeline around the lower place, because right here and here you have an area that goes down the map. And what I typically do when I'm not playing on camera or anything like that is I'll take a worker and I'll build up every single area, and I'll leave a small gap that I can leave with vehicles and stuff like that. So there's only one way into the base, one way out, so it's a negative and a benefit. Negative in the fact that if the AI decides that they want to block it or get a super unit stuck in it, and yes, super units can get stuck in certain places due to the pathing of the AI, they can get stuck very, very easily at that. Just like with the iron sides. Units can collide with each other to a certain degree, but as you saw, they can mostly drive into or through each other. And onto the larger maps, Rule the Ruins. I have actually never played the map. In all the time that I've played the game, I have not once played Rule the Ruins or Paradise of the Lost. And Paradise of the Lost, from the top-down view that I see, looks like a bit of a city map. It may actually be a perfect city map, because I see what looks like knocked over structures or hills. I see small roadways everywhere. I see someone that starts on a hill, someone that starts in what looks like a low-hanging park, so that actually may be below, so an alien player would be favorable to spawn there, because they could flood the area and protect themselves. I see what looks like another hill spawn on the southeastern side. Southwestern has what looks like an equally level area with the player on the west. Lair of the Devil is a desert map, like I said, and it has water all around it, but it is a mixture of a map. It is actually a high-rise and a low-rise. The middle is mostly a high-rise, with the lower ground being a low-rise, so alien players would be more favorable in this scenario, because they can just capture as many water pumps in their areas. They can flood their corner of the map and just let it slowly creep out over the map and kill everyone else off. Oasis of Death is the same thing. Again, it is a variable level map that would favor aliens to spawn in a low location, flood their area, and protect themselves that way. And Warflyer and everything else that I already went over. But that's going to be it for this video, everybody. If you found it interesting or entertaining in any way, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. For those of you who want to have an active part in any of this, feel free to leave a comment and say what type of fight you want to see. Would you like to see alien against alien, remnant against remnant, Ascension against Remnant, Ascension against Alien, or any number of other scenarios that could come up? And again, you can create teams for everybody, because you can have 6 teams, so it could be individual free-for-all, so you could have all Alien free-for-all, all Remnant free-for-all, everything like that. However, one thing that is wrong with the AI, the Ascension AI, that I've always noticed, no matter the difficulty, they're always extremely slow to set everything up, because the AI actually tends to, instead of produce additional vanguards, it stays with one vanguard, which means that when it loses that one, it loses, because technically that vanguard is its base, because their vanguards turn into their structures. So please consider that when you're thinking of saying, well, let's have Ascension, all Ascension map. Well, then I would have the advantage, because I'm not the AI. I'm not going to be focusing on building up a single vanguard unit and just maxing it out. And I'm also not going to spawn my hero units in that way, but also consider those options. Make it so you have to capture all the water pumps, destroy all the AIs, or just kill their heroes and you win. I'll go over a more in-depth description of all of this later on, or in the different videos covering the species that I play, based on what you guys want to see. But this is a way to get everybody to be more interactive with the channel, and to have a little bit more fun with scenarios. The scenario I just played could have gone more differently. It would have gone more differently had the enemy been the alien. Because the alien actually rapidly spawns and rapidly takes the map, and they aim to flood the map. They don't actually aim to defeat the player right away. Something I've always seen is the AI will typically resort to beating a player away from water points. So if you control the vast majority of them, they'll take them from you. So it's highly, highly versatile in what it does. So it also puts an emphasis on defending your area, unlike what I was doing, where I had next to no units. I was amassing resources just to have fun. Because the AI I knew I was going to be fighting wouldn't fight back, which was disappointing, as it usually is, but it allowed me to show off the Remnants. But that's going to be it, everybody, and as always, I'll see you later.